Hello darlings, it is Rujazzle here. Welcome back to my channel. Now in today's video we are doing a tutorial of sorts and hopefully something that is useful for those who are starting drag. Now one aspect of drag that I most of the time love doing is making drag mixes, and I reckon over the years I've made somewhere between 300 and 400 mixes of varying qualities, okay? Some iconic, some horrible. Now drag mixes vary in style from performer to performer, and throughout time they can be as simple as just a series of songs in a row blended together, or they could be as complex as several songs, sound bites from pop culture, all kind of mixed together to create a kind of a narrative. Now I'm very much a believer that drag is an art form and that it's creative and is subjective above all. So I don't think there are any rules when it comes to making a drag mix other than the sheer technical ones, as in the physical making of the mix. So we're going to start with a series of rules, or rather the do's and don'ts in my opinion of making a drag mix, and then we're going to move on to the more looser tips, the choice of inspiration, choice of songs in your drag mix, and kind of my own personal views on making a drag mix. Okay darlings, so we're going to start with those technical do's and don'ts of making your drag mix. Now all of these opinions are based on my own experience, on my own mistakes, and also things that I've observed at the shows that I produce from other performers. Now the program that I use to make my mixes is Audacity, and I think it's one of the best ones because it's quick, it has lots of tools, and it's free. In the past I have also used GarageBand, but today I'll be focusing on Audacity. So tip number one in those technical rules is having high quality audio. Now 99% of drag mixes have songs in them, so make sure that your songs are of high quality. In an ideal world, we should all be purchasing our music and downloading it legally, but let's face it, drag performers are not doing that. So if you are YouTube to MP3ing your tracks, make sure you are downloading them from a high quality video. What I do sometimes is when I'm searching for a song, I'll search for the song, then I'll put HQ as in high quality, and that will give you a high quality version of the song, and it will just sound much better when you're performing it at the show. Another technique that I use is I will play my songs from Spotify, then I'll record them internally in my computer onto Audacity. It sounds complex, but it's actually very, very simple, and it gives you a very high quality version of the song. And there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube on how to record internally. I won't go into it here because it's not for everyone, but it's definitely a good option there that could work for you. And I also use the same technique of recording internally to get sound bites from my mixes from TV shows or films, because sometimes not everything is on YouTube, so I can record internally from Netflix or from a DVD or from wherever. Okay, rule number 2 of making your drag mix, and maybe the most important thing in this entire video, is to level your audio. Level it. Make sure every single part of your mix has the same volume. This is so important. It's the classic rookie mistake of drag performers, and it's so frustrating for showrunners like me when the DJ wants to slap me because the volume is like this for one part and like this for the other part. It's just so frustrating. Do not just cram all your audio into a mix and hope for the best. Go through every section and make sure it's all the same volume. Because otherwise, when you're performing it at the show, the audience can't follow your performance if they can't hear every section. Now this especially applies to spoken word sections, which are usually quieter than your song sections. Make sure they are super loud so the audience can follow your performance. Now it is super simple to level your audio on Audacity, and it is just as simple as this.
Right, so I have my songs and my soundbite ready. I'm going to open up Audacity and then drag them over. Now, right off the bat, we can see that these songs are super loud and the soundbite is super quiet. So we're going to double click using the select tool and then go to effects and amplify, and we can see that it needs to be amplified by 15 decibels. Okay? And then we'll also double click over the songs as well, and I'll again go to amplify, and that will bring them down to make everything equalized. Now, if a section of your mix still isn't loud enough, you can amplify it further using the volume bars on the left hand side here, but just do this with caution as it can become distorted if you make things too loud.
One more thing, sometimes I will also record my own voice for my mixes, And the exact same rule applies here as well. Make sure when you're recording your own voice that it's nice and clear, that you aren't too close to the microphone so it sounds too bassy or too far away and it's not audible. One thing that I usually do when I'm finished making my mix is I'll listen to it once through with headphones and then once again on my speakers, and that way you can hear if all sections are clear, whether it's played through headphones or whether it's played through a speaker. Okay darlings, tip number 3 of your do's and don'ts of making a drag mix is fade in and fade out. Now this just makes your mix sound far cleaner and far more professional, and it is so easy to do on Audacity.
So we will start by selecting the area we want to add that fade to, and then go to Effect and Fade Out, and it does it automatically. It's that simple. And we can also add a fade in on this side here, exact same way, Effect, but then Fade in. Now I would encourage everyone to check out all the special effects right here. There's plenty of ways to spice up your drag mixes.
Okay, rule number 4 in the do's and don'ts of making a drag mix is always convert to MP3. The number of times that I have baby queens arriving at a show with their tracks on a USB stick and they're all in a WAV file and the DJ has an aneurysm trying to convert them during the show, it's just stressful. So when you are exporting your drag mix, make sure it's being exported to MP3 unless strictly told otherwise, because MP3 is a format that is the most compatible and the most universal when it comes to venues and the equipment they have there. So MP3 unless told otherwise. Okay darlings, now that the technical side of things is out of the way, we can move on to the more fun section, that is style choices and my own personal preferences when it comes to making a drag mix. Now these are tips, they're not rules. These are my own personal suggestions when it comes to making a drag mix. Okay, tip number 1 is song choice. Now, as I said earlier, 99% of drag mixes contain music, songs, so choose your songs wisely. Of course, there are many songs that are classics and staples within the drag community, but maybe consider, is the song that I'm choosing too obvious? Is it maybe overdone? One thing that I love to do alongside many other drag performers is to subvert the meanings of songs in my drag mixes, because that gives what you're doing that fierce drag edge. I've used No Doubt's Trapped in a Box for a French mime. I've used Coldplay's Yellow in a mix about water sports. So yeah, there really are no limits when you think creatively, and I think that subverting songs in your drag mixes just makes it more unique, and it adds that level of humour and discourse to what you're doing. Now finally, I think as a drag performer, it's a great skill to have a varied musical knowledge, because I think it just gives you more options when it comes to picking the perfect songs for your numbers. One thing that I try and do, and that I would recommend others do as well, is to listen to a variety of musical genres and artists and eras, and it just gives me more references to choose from when making my mixes. Okay, tip number 2 is length. Yes, the eternal question, how long is too long? Now, I try and keep most of my drag mixes around 4 to 6 minutes, with most of them settling around the 5-minute mark. When I'm creating numbers for a show, I of course want to create content to fill time, but equally, I don't want the audience getting bored. So you have to kind of strike that balance between not having it too short where the audience feels shortchanged, or not having it too long where they're going to get bored. So these are just things to consider when you are creating your mix. Of course, a short and sweet number can absolutely suffice, and equally, a long number can also work if there's plenty of content there to keep the audience engaged and entertained. So on the whole, I try and keep mine around 5 minutes. I reckon between 4 and 6 is absolutely fine. It's probably what most folk should aim for when making a mix. But again, this is a personal preference, and it's just something to consider when you are making your drag mixes. Okay, tip number 3, and maybe my favorite, is structure. Yes, the structure of your drag mix, and I take this very seriously. Now, I believe that drag mixes are intended to take the audience on a journey, and I think that, like a story, a drag mix should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Obviously, some mixes that I make are very, very simple and are just a simple song with a couple of sound bites, or they may be very complex and be lots of songs and lots of sound bites, but regardless, I still try and maintain this 3-part structure. So I would say that the first part is your introduction, and that should let the audience know what your number is about, whether it's through a soundbite or a song or both. And then the middle section is the meat of your performance, is the action. And then your third part is your conclusion, is the resolution of what has happened to add that satisfying conclusion to the audience. Okay, now obviously, disclaimer, this is my brain that we're talking about here, which always takes things very seriously and very academically. You can choose to format your mixes in any way that you choose. This is just my own way of doing things. I like everything to make sense, but equally, I love plenty of drag performers who just do insane mixes that make absolutely no sense and are surreal and bizarre, and I love them. It's about figuring out what works for you as a performer. So again, a suggestion, not a rule. Okay, tip number 4 is all about inspiration. Now, I get asked all the time, how do I get my inspirations from my drag mixes? And I guess, like all parts of my drag, it can come from literally anywhere. Sometimes I will hear a song and think, oh, I'd love to do that. Let's think of a context I can do that song in. Or I'll hear a song and think, that would be hysterical if it was performed by this character or in this context. How can I subvert it? And in the exact same token, if I hear a soundbite from TV or a film or from a viral video, I'll just think of a way of working it into a mix or basing a mix around it. Or thirdly, I could just have an urge to create a mix about a certain topic or character and then just do research and find material to make that mix work. I think overall, the number 1 tip for making a drag mix is just to be creative and think outside the box, because you know what, drag is a liberal art form and there are endless possibilities. So yeah, be creative, and most importantly, do not steal someone else's idea or mix. I feel like by this point that should be self-explanatory, but you know what, I'm not going to go into it. One thing that I'll often do before I make a mix is I will Google that performance and see if it's been done before, and if so, how was it done? And try and do things differently. Of course, this is not foolproof because not every single drag performance of all time has been filmed and is online, but I think it helps just to avoid being accused of plagiarizing. So darlings, those are all of your rules and your hints and tips of making a fabulous drag mix. I hope you find this video interesting or useful, or maybe both. Now, I don't think for a second that I'm in any way an authority when it comes to making drag mixes, but you know what? There are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to use Audacity and all the kind of tricks and stuff there, so definitely check them out. But I wanted to make this video from a drag queen's perspective and my own personal opinions and thoughts and process of making a drag mix. Anyhow, sound off in the comments below. What do you guys think? Did you learn anything? Do you do things similarly or differently to me? Did I miss anything out? Let me know. I would love to hear all your thoughts and continue the discussion. But for now, thank you all for watching, darlings. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Mwah.